So how's everybody doing today?
I'm okay.
Not
All
bad.
right.
Pretty
Excellent. Okay, so I'm using a software to push my video to Zoom, and that's why you guys were hearing that doorbell type sound. That was people coming in. Yeah, I noticed quite a bit of talk in the chat about that. Yeah, I forgot to turn off my desktop audio so you guys wouldn't hear that. But I do have a question. Did you guys hear the music that was playing? Okay, got a couple of people shaking their heads no. All right, so that's good to know because I mean, that was a little bit of wasted effort, but hey, whatever. I guess that would work better with a YouTube live type thing. Anyway, so we're here to talk about the homework, right? I see a couple people shaking their head. Yes, maybe. All right,
Yes.
cool. All right. So I recognize that the homework is a little bit difficult because this is not really a math class, and math is one of the subjects that's people's least favorite. So I got about 20 emails asking for assistance. I figured I'd just do this and help you guys out with it. So it sounds like we still have a couple more people coming in. So 72, including myself in here right now. 73. All right. Anyway, so I'm just going to try to run through it, and you guys ask questions as I'm doing it, okay? Would that be easier for you, or do you guys want to speak up and ask about certain parts?
You're going through it's fine.
Running through it? Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to share. Let's see. It's not going to let me do all my screens. All right. I guess I'll just do this one. All right. So you guys should have popping up on your screens the homework question from my educator. If you can't see it, let me know. Okay, so silence, so I assume you guys can see it now. All right, so number 7, and I know I made in the video I referenced number 8. I think I was originally going to go with 8 and then chose 7. But anyway, number 7, you operate a high-speed automated juice bottling line. The machine is set up to fill bottles with 100 ounces of juice. To help you build the control chart for the entire run, you collected the following 10 samples with 4 bottles in each sample. So you have 40 data points here. Addie asked if this recording is to be posted on eCampus. As soon as it's available, I will probably email it out. I have to figure out the best way to make it available to you guys, and I might just email everybody the link because there was a lot of people who couldn't make it tonight for various reasons. But okay, don't all jump out now because I can hear some of the sounds. They're still going for me. But anyway, you're welcome, Addie. All right. So we have our first table here. So I just highlighted on my screen. I can't really tell if it's showing up like that for you. But some people have asked me when they're looking at the data. So you see 101, 99, 98, but then you have this value of 10. So we're going to do it with that value because that is what is a data point that we have for this sample set. So it's not 100, it's not 101, it's not 102, it's just 10. So apparently the machine had difficulty filling that one sample with 100 ounces. And you'll see how you can identify something like this when we do our plotting. But when we, now, just to go through the rest of it so we know what we're looking for, okay? So we need to calculate the upper and lower control limits using a 3 sigma performance level. So that's going to be important, 3 sigma performance level. And we need to build an X bar chart. Does any of you remember what X bar is?
It's the mean.
Yes, it's the mean. All right. So by calculating the overall standard deviation and standard error, sometimes standard error is used in place of standard deviation, but we're going to be using this. We're not going to be doing standard error because our book doesn't talk about it, so we're going to ignore it. Okay. But we're going to be calculating our standard deviation along with our grand mean because we'll need those to figure out a control chart. And then next, we'll have to calculate the upper and lower control limits using the range as your measure of variability. So we're also going to find our range. And then finally, having built the control chart, you begin sampling the 4 items every 30 minutes. Your data for the first 5 samples are shown below. Plot them on your control chart. And then finally, is your process in control? All right. I'm not going to actually answer that part of this question for you guys. I got to leave a little bit of work for you. So that last sentence is going to be up to you. All right. So what I've already done, and you may have done that already, is I just pasted the charts into Excel. Copied and pasted. All right. With me so far? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, I'm going to turn off that doorbell because now it's bothering me. How do I do that when I'm sharing my screen? Looks like I'm just going to have to tolerate it. Okay. So first thing we need to figure out is our X bar, right? So we got our X bar. So can someone tell me how to figure out X bar for each sample number?
We just add up the first sample number 1, it would be 101 plus 99 plus 98 plus 98, then divide by 4.
Yes. Yeah. So you're doing the average. So Excel has that function. So if you type equals average and then open parentheses, and then you can type in C5 colon F5, where you can just select the data and it automatically puts it in there.
I don't see Excel up on the screen right now.
You do not?
Nah.
Okay.
Same here, I don't either.
All right, so I'm going to stop and start it again. Okay.
Yeah, it just got stuck on the page showing the homework where the mouse cursor was even frozen. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, all right. Gotta love Zoom, right?
No.
Yeah, I'm with you. For our class our size, there's really no adequate solution. Collaborate only does up to 250 interactive like this. And if I make it up to 500, it becomes a webinar style where I'm basically talking at you guys. There's no interaction. It doesn't even allow the chat feature. Zoom only does 300, but our class is 339. And then Google Meet only does 60 or something like that. So I could have done a YouTube Live, which might be interesting for next semester. But anyway, so you guys see the Excel formula I've put in. So equals sign, the word average, open parentheses, C5 colon F5. And then you can close it with close parentheses. You don't always have to put that last parentheses in. If you hit enter, Excel's automatically going to put that in there. But if you get into the habit of closing it, because sometimes you have multiple parentheses and it doesn't know how to figure it out because it doesn't. It does the order of operations on it. So you'll see what I mean when we get into a couple of the other functions. So once we do that, it comes up to 99. So 99, if you were to do the math, it would come up to 99. So instead of typing it for the whole string here, or for every line, now this is the Windows version of Microsoft Excel. I'm not sure about the Mac version. you guys, if you're using a Mac, you might have to figure out what I'm doing on a Mac. I use PC, as you can probably tell from my screen. But anyway, see that there's a little square in the corner. Do you see that? Let's see. Okay, it's like right there when I'm not using the annotate feature. So there's a little square there. If you click on it, you'll get a different cursor type. It's like a little plus sign. And just drag it down. And it will automatically do that formula for every cell below it, adjusting your formula to go with the next numbers. So you guys with me so far? Okay. I got one shook their head yes. I got more people joining.
Wait a second.
Okay. Okay. So we have our X bar. Okay. So that's our data points that we're actually going to be plotting on our control chart. Those are the, you'll see the line go up and down. And so you'll see that. But however, we need that center line, right? And please excuse my son. He's crying in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but so now we need our center line. And does anybody remember what the center line is?
It's a double X bar, right?
Yes, it's a double X bar, also known as the grand mean. If I can type today. So how would you factor the grand mean? Or double X bar?
Take the mean of all the means.
Yeah. So you would just do the same thing. So you would use the average command, open parentheses, and you would just select that X bar column, all the data in there. And once you close it and hit enter, you would get 97.725. Now, one thing I do is I don't like to go over 2 decimal places. If you do, that's fine. But I like to keep it all kind of clean with just 2 places. If we were working with decimals more in our samples, then we would add more decimal places. But they're all whole numbers, so we don't really need to go that deep into it. All right. What else do we need to make a control chart? How are we going to factor our upper and lower control limits?
Standard deviation.
Yeah. So we got our standard deviation. This is also known as our sigma. I don't know the code for making the little symbol, but okay. Now this one, I don't expect you guys to know this one off the top of your head, but so it's STDEV. And then we have several different varieties of standard deviation in Excel. So what we're going to do is the .p version, so that we're doing the full population. That's what the P is for, population. There's another one, standard deviation .s for sample, which is a smaller set of the population. But we're going to do the whole population. Now, if you ever get to these and you don't, oops, that is not what I was looking to do. All right, so you guys still see the Excel?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's take a step back here. Have you guys ever noticed this little function of X symbol next to where you might type for the cell contents up on near the top of the window? So if you click on that, you'll have a box that pops up, and you can actually search for what you need. So if you wanted standard deviation, you just type it, standard deviation. And I don't know why it's giving confidence as the first answer. But you can actually go through here and read the descriptions of each one. So if you wanted S here, it says, based on a sample, but P is on the entire population. So we're looking for the standard deviation P for population. And we can get actually a box that pops up like this. Now, if you're using VLOOKUP, there's multiple things that show. So like for the VLOOKUP, you have, the string you're actually starting with, what you want to look elsewhere in a range you set. Then what column do you want it to pull the data from? And then do you want an exact match or a partial match? So this is sure you get all the data you need into the function. But for us, we're only looking for here. We're actually going to select all our sample data points. In my case, it's C5:F14. Is everybody with me so far? Okay, and this has another great way here, because you see this thing that says formula result. It's actually shown in two places. So your formula result can give you that quick reality check to see if you're even doing it right. So like it's showing me 14.2 and so on. So I've done this before, so I know this one is correct. But if you get like a -3, well, that's not correct, because standard deviations can't be negative. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, got a couple head shaking. All right. So because it's giving me what I want, I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it puts it in there for me. But we're also needing to determine the range. So if you were in section 8.6, it goes in to show you how to find the range. So we need to do a range column here too. So this one's going to be a little bit more tricky, because I'm going to combine two Excel functions together. All right. So if you do equals and max, so you're looking for the maximum value in a set of numbers. Okay. And then open parentheses, and then you have to select your group of numbers. So we want the maximum of our first sample grouping here. But then we want to subtract the smallest one, right? Because our range is our largest minus our smallest. Range cannot be a negative. So make sure it's maximum minus minimum. So in our case here, it's min, M-I-N for minimum. And you would just select the same range after you would do an open parentheses. And then do a close parentheses. And when you hit enter, and with a small group like this, especially because it's whole numbers, you can look at it. So your smallest or your largest is 101, your smallest is 98. That's a 3 difference, right? So you can do a reality check on this. So another trick I'll show you guys, like on this first column, I selected that little square and dragged it all the way down for my data points. Well, you can double click on that little box. However, it's going to go as far as the data, so you're going to have to delete a couple squares. Because your column right before that had the grand mean and standard deviation. You want to get rid of that. So the second one here kind of looks like an outlier with an 89 range. Well, your highest one, your maximum is 99. Your minimum is 10. That's 89. So that is the correct value. Okay, so we need something down here at the bottom. What do we need down here at the bottom? might we need the average range or the mean range? Okay. All right, so we got mean range. So we're just going to do it like we figured out, like did our X bars. So equals average, and then select the group. And like I said, you don't have to put the close parentheses, the final close parentheses, you just hit enter. And it comes up to 12.8. So is everybody with me so far? Okay, I got one head shaking yes. Thanks, Harry. Okay. I got a thumbs up from Sean. Thank you.
How'd you get 12.8 again?
Okay, so 12.8 is the average of all these values.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. Now, if you do have questions like that, go ahead and shout them out. I mean, I'm not monitoring the chat, so if someone is doing the chat, I have no idea what's going on in there. So, actually, I got. Okay, well, now I'm monitoring the chat. I popped out the box. Okay. So, I'm going to skip a column, and you'll find out why I do this when we come to our graphing of this chart, okay? But we have to figure out our upper control limit and our lower control limit, right? And there's two ways to do that. We can either use the sigma or the range. And because this is an X bar chart, we're going to be using the sigma. So, okay, Colin, I just saw your message about 4 bottles, 4 different flavors. Sure, they can be 4 different flavors. Okay, so just to keep this straight for me, I'm going to put upper control limit sigma and lower control limit sigma, because we're also going to do upper control limit range and then lower control limit range. All right. So we're actually going to be doing the upper and lower control limits twice, because with the data we're coming up with, we can actually make multiple charts. But our question only asked about the X bar chart. So I don't want you guys doing anything extra. Okay. So do you guys remember the formula for the upper control limit?
Is it not 3 sigma?
You will have 3 sigma in there.
Is it just 3 standard deviations?
Well, that's part of it. But there's more to the formula to get the upper control limit. So I'm just going to type it on the Excel here. So we're going to have our I'm just going to put in words. Double X bar. And then we're going to add. Now this is for the upper control limit, so we're going to add. Because remember, our double X bar, which is our grand mean right here, is we need to find that our grand mean or double X bar is our center line. So we need to do 3 sigma above that and sigma below that. That's where the upper and lower control limits come from. All right. So like you said, there was a 3, right? But then we need to multiply that by our standard deviation. And then we have our standard deviation over the square root of our samples. Sample count. So that is our formula for the upper control limit. And it is identical for our lower control limit, but instead of adding, we're just going to subtract. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, I got 1 thumbs up from Ryan. Got a nod from Peyton. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and put that in to, yeah, I know it's not an actual formula. All right. Okay, so our upper control limit using sigma. So, like I said, we're using our standard or our double X bar. So that's the 97.73. We're going to add that 3. Then we're going to multiply it. And just like you would in your algebra classes, you don't need to put the asterisk sign for multiplication. You can in Excel, but you don't have to. So 3 times your standard deviation, which is the 14.2. Then we're going to divide it. And Excel uses square root as SQRT capitalized. And you can see it pulled it up on the screen here so, as a thing here. But square root, you have to put it in parentheses, okay? So it's a square root of our sample count. So I'm going to actually correct my formula up here. Yeah, I'll fix it in a minute. So how many samples do we have per line?
4 of them.
Yes, 4. So square root of 4. Okay, so I threw 2 parentheses at the end because the square root was essentially a function. So I had to close that function, and then I had to close the G16 divided by the square root area. So making sure the parentheses match up. Oop. And of course, it found an error. Oh, okay, it wanted the asterisk where I didn't put it in. So it came up with 119.02.
Could you show the equation you used to get 119 again, please?
Sure, it's actually right there.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Oop, if I don't screw it up. Okay, so this number is going to be the same for every okay, Colin, you're saying you can't edit your numbers. It's all decimal, using all decimals. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, Colin. You might want to make sure that the formula is correct. You might have it dividing the wrong number. Might have gone too far with the division if it's just only decimal and numbers. Okay. All right. So, like I said, this is the upper control limit. But if we go ahead and just copy that formula and then go over to our lower control limit, paste that formula, and instead of that plus, just change it to a minus. So your lower control limit is that easy to figure once you get your upper control limit. And if you decided to start with your lower control limit, all you got to do is just change the sign to a plus instead of a minus. Is this working out for you guys so far? I'm trying not to go too fast, but definitely let me know if I am. Okay.
Could you do that one part one more time that you just did?
Okay, copying?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I did is I clicked on the cell for the 119.0255, which is our upper control limit using the sigma. All I did is I went up into that formula bar and just copied the entire formula. So I just did Control C once I highlighted it. So I would get out of that. I just hit escape so I'm not editing the formula anymore. I click on the cell that I want it to be, and I click up in the formula bar, and I just paste. I'm using Control V to paste. You can do the right click and do whatever paste option you would like. But I'm going into the formula, and instead of that plus, I'm making it a subtraction, a minus, and then just hitting enter. Did that help, Lauren?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. So because we are going to be making a X-bar chart, I'm going to select the two. I'm just going to copy. I'm going to select all the other cells and just paste. And I knew that would happen. All right, so I'm going to tell you what the actual way I should have done it was. Okay, so when I selected the cells, so in the Windows version of Excel, if you right click, I'm going to right click. You have several different paste options. So you have just a standard paste, and it shows you what it's going to paste. 14.2 and then zeros. But the next one over is the one I want because I just want the numbers to be there. Okay? Now, if you think about this as a line chart, one line is just going to be 19.0 all the way across. And then there's going to be another line, 76.4 all the way across. Okay, so that's why I pasted these values here. Okay, here. And let's see here. Uh-oh. I don't have my formula for the A2 version of this. Okay. Let me just do this. Okay. And there's no shame in looking up the formula for this stuff because I still have to do it myself. All right. And
Do that part again.
which part?
The last part where you pulled the numbers down in the paste options.
Oh, okay. So when I right click, after I selected what I want, I copied it. I did Control C. So I selected the cells that I wanted to paste into. When I right click, it gives me several options as paste options. So the first one is just paste, and you can see on the screen it's like 14.2, 14.2, and then zeros. Well, that's not what I'm looking for. I want the 119 and 76 to go down. So the next one is just pasting the value, not the formula that created the value, just the numbers themselves. Does that help you, Marky?
I have a MacBook, so I don't think it's letting me do that. It's not giving me the paste option.
On the Mac, you go and you press paste special and then select value.
Yeah, it should be an option towards the bottom. It says values on the paste special for Mac.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
Okay, so looks like, let's see.
When I was trying to get to how you right click or pasted the formula from the upper control limit for the first option, it's turning it to, in the second box, it's turning it to 0, or like it's doing the cell number L3, or like mine's L3, but I don't know why it's not. I can't. Yeah, I just try to do it again.
Okay, so your upper control limit, if you click on that little square to have it fill in below it, it's going to adjust the formula all the way down. So it's going to use, it's going to shift the cells that it looks to as it goes.
It just wiped everything. It just wiped it both out.
Okay. Well, to keep this going, why don't we talk afterwards, Colin? I can help you one-on-one.
All right.
That way it's because this is a recording for the rest of the class, it can't be here. But yeah, definitely stick around afterwards. I'll help you out. So, but you might be able to move forward with this upper control limit for the ranges. Now we're using the alpha 2 value and the range mean in addition to the grand mean. Okay. So here, I'll just type it in. So we're going to be doing the grand mean, and we're going to be adding or subtracting the alpha 2 value multiplied by the range bar, R bar. Okay. So this one is different because we're using the range, and that's why we factored the range in here. But like I mentioned, we're doing the grand mean, which we've already addressed is the 97.73. So when we click on that, all right, and then add the A2 value. So if you were to look in your book, the A2 value for a sample size of 4 is 0.73. Okay, everybody with me so far? That's a value that's just a standard one that's out there. Some statistical genius came up with these charts. I can't tell you what the A2 values are. I just know that's the one we need to use. Okay? And then we're going to multiply that by the R bar, which we factored was 12.8. So if we hit enter, we're going to get 107 as our value. So just like we did for the sigma version of the upper and lower control limits, we're just going to paste that formula in, but put a minus where the plus was. Did you have a question, Marky?
What is the R bar?
The R bar is the mean range.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So when you hear bar, it means mean, and then grand mean is just there. You can think of it as 2 lines above the double bar. So we're starting to get a little bit into statistics with these formulas. So you might be familiar with these from your statistics classes. And then I'm going to paste it down, pasting just the values.
What did you change for the LCLR from different from the UCLR formula?
So we're actually using different data. We're using range instead of the standard deviation and the grand mean. So we're using range and an A2 value. So I should say we're using grand mean for both because that's our center line. And then we need to go above and below it. We need to make those upper and lower control limits. So we have to start off with that grand mean. That's our center line. And then for this range chart, we would have the A2 value. And in your book under section 8.6, it actually has a chart that says A2, D3, and let's see, what else does this have? D4.
Could
So,
you formula for the LCLR column again, please?
So the lower control limit range, is that the one you wanted, Melissa?
Yes.
Okay. So for the lower control limit, it's just the grand mean minus the A2 value multiplied by the R bar number. Where the upper control limit had the plus sign, the addition. All we're doing is just changing to a minus.
Okay.
Because we want to go the same distance on the other side of the center line. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So I left a column blank here because we need this value to help make our line charts, right? So we need that center line. So our grand mean is that 97.73 So I copied that cell, and I'm just going to paste it in there. I'm just going to paste the value because it was put in there as a formula. Oops. So is everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Excellent. So to make an X bar chart, what are the 4 things we need on this chart?
Could you do the grand mean again? I'm sorry.
So the grand mean is basically the average of the averages, right? So our X bar is the averages for each sample number or sample grouping. So we just did average of our averages. So equals average, you select all of them and you hit enter, and that would be it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what are the 4 columns here I need to make my chart, an X bar chart? Okay, I'll give you a hint. We're going to need the X bar column because it's an X bar chart, right? But what else do we need to have on here?
The grand mean.
Yes, because our grand mean is our center line.
The UCLS and LCLS.
Yeah, so we need our upper and lower control limits. So what I'm doing is I'm holding down control when I'm selecting these cells. So that way I can select multiple, different groups of data on my screen. One thing you could do if it's easier for you is you can copy these columns and just paste the values and put them all next to each other. Whatever works best for you. But yeah, so now you'll only see the UCL and LCL. You won't see the letter S. I'm just distinguishing the sigma version for the X bar chart from the range version for the range chart. So you won't see that S or R normally, okay? So I want to go up to Insert, and then under Charts, I want a line chart. And you get a kind of a display of what it would look like. So if you were to insert that chart,
How did you highlight all of them again?
hold down the control button and select what you want.
I can't figure out how to get the chart.
So what I went to insert, and then I just picked. I mean, in the Windows version, it shows me all the little pictures of charts. What you're looking for is a line chart that's from left to right, not the bar chart. You want a line chart.
You need to copy all that information?
No, you just select it and then select your chart, and it will automatically use that data to make it the chart for you. And Elizabeth looks really happy for some reason. She is. All right. Okay. Well, congratulations, Elizabeth, on whatever it was. All right. So this is a control chart. It seems like a lot of work to get to this point, and it is. When you're actually in the quality field or deeper into supply chain, we have software that does this for us. We have a particular software called Minitab. I'm not sure if any of you guys have used that before, but if you guys choose to go down the Six Sigma route for certifications, yellow belt, green belt, black belt, whatever, you'll be making lots of these charts. It's a very useful tool because you can look at it. And when I'm looking at it here, let me just get my annotation out here. I'm in a big line. You know, this point right here bothers me looking at this chart, where it dips down to the lower control limit. So when you're in the field long enough, you'll be able to see things like this, and it should, this is, I would want to know why sample number 2 is down so low. If you recall, this is the one that had the 10 value. If you look over here, we had 99, 99, 10, and 99. So if it was 100 instead of 10, that'd be more up along the center line. So we've made one X-bar control chart. Let me clear this. Okay. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. Well, you guys need to have it for your homework. I'm going to delete it because I don't have enough screen space to show you how to do the next set. All right. Okay. So our problem goes on to the last section says, finally having built a control chart, which we just did, you begin sampling 4 items every 30 minutes. Your data from the first 5 samples is shown below. Plot them on your control chart. Is your process in control? Okay. So I've went ahead and pasted the data from the problem already into my Excel. So we need to do our X bar again, right? Because we have new data, so we need to find out what our new X bar values are. So if I can type tonight. Okay. So you guys remember how to figure X bar? I got one head shook their head yes. Okay. So it's average, open parentheses, and you select the cells that you want to average. Okay. And because the formula is going to be the same for all 5, you can just double click on the lower right corner, which has a little square, and it will fill in the rest. It will apply that same formula for every line below it. Okay, so here's where it's going to be a little bit different. Okay. We already have our grand mean. These are just 5 additional samples that go with that grand mean. And we already have our upper and lower control limits. And I say that because I'm just going to copy from our upper and lower control limits and just paste them right in. But I also need the grand mean in there. So basically, I'm putting all the data I need to make another chart. Because we want to check to see if these 5 samples fit into our original chart. So how many people did I just confuse? Okay. I got a couple people. All right. Being honest. Okay. Okay. So our question isn't specific enough to say that we are, what happened? This could be just another 5 that came through. Instead of doing all the math again and getting different values, because we could recalculate it for all 15 data points, but we're only doing 5. So I'm going to use, and I would like you guys to use, the same upper and lower control limits from the original set, and the same grand mean. So that's what we're doing here.
I keep on deleting stuff by accident. What was the formula for the upper control limit? I tried to copy and paste it down and it deleted it.
Not a problem. So can you see that on my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So instead of doing all the math again, I'm just having you guys copy that data into this new chart here. Did you get all that, Michael?
Yeah, I'm trying to get caught up.
Not a problem. But we have all our data right here that we need to make another control chart. We have our X bar, which is our data points. We have our upper and lower control limits. Those are just the plain lines that go across. And our grand mean, which is our center line. So if we selected all those and just make another chart.
Do you have to reselect like the lower section that we just did to make a chart for that data only?
Yeah, just work with only that data.
So do I have to select it before I go into insert a line chart?
Yes. Otherwise, it's going to ask you to put it all in. It's just much simpler to go ahead and select the data that you want in your chart, and then to select the chart you want. And then this would be that second control chart. That's why I put a number 2 at the end of it. So I would need to see the 2 control charts with all your work on the screen. And I will be checking to see if there's formulas used, not just values typed in.
So for the second control bar, you just did the same thing where you held control and highlight all 4 columns again, and then produce your chart.
Because they're all right next to each other, I don't need to hold down the control button. But if I wanted to select X bar and lower control limit at the same time, you would have to select one, then hold down the control button and select the next one. Because you can't select one and then the other without holding down the control button. It just won't let you select 2 ranges at the same time, where the control button will let you do that. It might be, the command button on Macs? I don't know.
Yeah, it is command.
Okay.
So you want both an Excel sheet and a Word document for this homework, or just the Excel sheet?
Just the Excel sheet's fine, because the last part of it is, the question is your process in control? So, I mean, really, that's a yes or no question, right?
Right.
So you would have to look up the criteria of a chart is in control or not in control. I believe that's under section 8.6. Let's see here. I'm checking right now. Yeah, so there's a section called Interpreting Control Charts, which has 5 bullet points. So you can tell me, based on that second set of data, if your chart is in control or not, or your process is in control or not.
Can you show me what graph you picked? Because I keep on picking the wrong graph. I mean, it might be different in Mac.
Sure. So I'll just delete this one. So once I select the data I need, I'm going up to Insert, and I'm just picking a 2D line chart, just a standard line chart. And with at least the Windows version, it's showing me a preview of the chart. So if I was to select different ones, it's showing me different charts.
Yeah, mine doesn't show the preview, but mine's not showing up like yours, even the standard 2D.
Well, Windows and Mac don't really get along, do they? But yeah, so I'm just picking a standard line chart. It doesn't need to have the little squares or circles or dots or triangles or whatever on it, like the ones that are currently on the screen. It doesn't need any of that, but just a standard two-dimensional line chart. Yep. So
all we need both the line charts and then the tables, and then we don't need anything else additional. No writing portion or nothing.
Say it one more time, Nicholas.
To turn it in, you said we didn't need to make a Microsoft Word document, so there's no writing portion or nothing extra that we need to use a Microsoft Word document for.
No, all I need is you can just pick a cell on there, like after all your work. I just need the word yes or no. Because the question is your process in control? Is your process in control is the wording of the question. So I just need a yes or no. Okay, so I have a request for the first control chart again. So the first control chart is using the same data columns. So you're using the X bar, the grand mean, because that's your center line. The X bar is your actual data points, and then your upper and lower control limits. You want to use the sigma version for the X bar, because the range version is for an R chart. So when you go and create that chart, it looks like that. And just by looking at this chart, I can say that this chart is not in control. Because the first bullet point is a single point plots outside the control limits. This one right here is a value of 76 when the lower control limit is actually a 76.4. Well, actually it is in control when I'm looking at the numbers themselves. That is strange. Oh, it looks very close. I still would probably call it out of control just by how close it is to that line. You're welcome, Christian. Okay, so Colin, we need to go over the formulas, but before we do that, is there any other questions on the control chart on this homework?
We have to put yes or no for both charts.
Just the second chart. Okay, so a lot of people are dropping off, but if you want to stick around, I'm going to go over the formulas one more time. Okay.
Your help.
Oh, you're welcome, Marky. Okay. So, Colin, you had a problem with the upper and lower control limits using sigma. Is that correct?
Thanks for helping us out.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, yeah, but then I tried to fix it and it deleted the column. I'm
Okay.
back when I got the X bar, I got the range, grand mean, standard dev, mean range. When I went to the grand mean, did you, for the first value of 97.725, did you just paste, that from the grand mean?
So yeah, that's all I did is I just pasted.
Okay,
grand
because I
mean
did
column.
that, but when I go to drag it down, it doesn't copy that value. Like it does different values and then it does all
Okay.
zeros.
Okay, so you probably copied the formula. So you would have to, when you copy the grand mean, if you go over to the grand mean column, if you right click on that column, you want to paste value. So you're only pasting the number. If you want to manually type in the number, that's fine too. But that's all
I
you're
don't have
trying.
a paste. Are you clicking the number and then clicking control and then clicking grand mean?
So when I do the grand mean, if you right click with your mouse, now I'm assuming you have a Windows which has at least 2 buttons on the mouse. You can do copy or just do Control C. And then when you're on the grand mean, if you right click again, you have a standard paste, then you have which is a clipboard with looks like a piece of paper.
Okay.
And then the next option is a clipboard with 1, 2, 3. You're just pasting the numbers. The formula is not coming with.
Yeah, okay. There it is. Okay, I got it. I'm good on the grand mean now.
All right, cool.
And
So
then the upper control limit, I had it written down and then I got lost.
Okay. So the upper control limit is the grand mean plus or minus, or the upper is going to be plus. So you want to do plus 3 because our question asked us to do a sigma of 3. So it said 3 sigma performance level. So that's where that 3 comes from. But moving on from that, we need to, because we're going to multiply it. So you need to put the asterisk in. And then we're going to do a parentheses because we're going to do a formula here, or a fraction. So this is our standard deviation, which is the 14.2. Actually type it in there. Standard deviation divided by the square root, and then we have to have parentheses for the square root of how many samples there are. Sample count. And then we'll have a parentheses to close it. So when we do that, we're going to do our grand mean. So that's the 97.725. We're going to add, and then we're going to do 3 because we're doing the 3 sigma performance level. Multiply that by, and then open parentheses, our standard deviation divided by the square root of 4 because we have 4 data values per sample. And then you just hit enter. How's that work for you?
Yeah, I don't know what I did on that one either. It's is it the double parentheses or not the double? Oh, well, it gave me the value 119, but yeah, it gave me the value. Okay.
Yeah, so at the end, there's 2 parentheses because you're closing the square root formula, but then you're also closing the fraction that you're working on. So there's actually 2 parentheses at the end.
And then for the drag down for that, you can just copy it or you just drag it down.
Yeah, so you want to drag down the value than the actual formula. So it might be easier to copy that cell and then paste the value in the cells below it.
And then drag it down.
Yeah.
Well, every time I try to, it only.
Actually, you might be able to. Let me see here.
I can only type the value in. I can't select it. It selects the formula. Oh man, what just happened? Yeah, whenever I go to click the value of 119, it just does the formula. I can't. If I go to copy and paste it, and it's copying the formula.
So if you right click and then there's a little clipboard icon with the 1, 2, 3, paste the value. It's only going to give paste that 119, not the whole equals and grand mean plus 3. It's not going to do all that.
Yeah, there's that. Then that's like the grand mean. Okay. And then for the lower control limit, it was the same formula, just minus the 3 times standard deviation divided by the square root.
Yep.
Okay. So then I copy that form.